With the conclusion of Black Ops 2's final DLC map Origins came a long wait for what would be next in the Aether storyline. We wouldn't get the follow-up we all craved until 3 years later. So, what was to hold us over in the meantime? Well, aside from extinction, there was another to keep us at bay before Black Ops 3 rolled around. 2014 gave us a Call of Duty set even further in the future, equipped with exosuits which granted a new kind of movement. This movement made it into Sledgehammer's own take on the zombies mode, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare's Exo Zombies.
I fucking hate the Atlas Corporation.
A large-scale prison riot was transpiring in New Baghdad. Atlas and Sentinel forces were sent into the prison to de-escalate the situation, causing a battle between the two military forces. As the battle ensued and the riot only continued to get worse, Atlas resorted to using their experimental bioweapon, the Manticore, otherwise known as the DNA bomb. The weapon's origins are rooted in the campaign and developed by Dr. Pierre Denois. The bomb wiped out nearly everyone in the prison, except for one squad belonging to Sentinel. Captain Gideon speaks over their communication devices and informs them that they are on their way to pick them up and exfil them out of the area. What followed the Manticore's activation is a strange mutation, a complete and total mistake. One of the Sentinel soldiers sent into the prison became Patient Zero when the Manticore went off. This lone zombie spread the virus across all prisoners, as well as soldiers from both Atlas and Sentinel, now turning their fangs on the only surviving soldiers left. The survivors were retrieved by Gideon. The Sentinel aircraft begins to take flight and exit the infection zone. As Gideon overlooks the piling zombie threats, a zombie that was still holding on to the helicopter grabs hold of Gideon and drags him out, falling to his death. After the outbreak, Atlas sent in a cleanup crew. But they weren't only there to remove their fingerprints off the scene. They were here to collect Patient Zero. Something was special about this victim. Brought back to Atlas HQ, their memories wiped clean and reprogrammed to work for Atlas, now as a janitor. This janitor is Oz. Despite his memories being wiped, he always had an underlying hatred for the Atlas Corporation. With Oz's DNA extracted, Atlas began to perform several experiments on their newly created zombified subjects, granting them exosuits and providing them new abilities visible in the EMZs, Spikers, Oozers, and the like. These zombies, however, would not stay contained for long. Time to introduce the rest of our main cast, starting with a former member of Atlas Executive Board, Khan. After failing to secure a client, Khan was given a false promotion, becoming the head of Atlas's research at their Biogenesis Research and Development Facility. Beneath him was Lilith Swan, an IT specialist who took an interest in hacking into classified emails, specifically Atlas's. There was a time when Khan had caught her in this act, but considering he did the exact same thing, he didn't really give her any trouble over it. And further beneath them was Jim Decker, a security guard who dreamed of becoming a soldier for Atlas, despite being denied this dream several times. On November 23, 2054, whether intentionally or not, the zombies escaped from their containment at Atlas's Biogenesis Research and Development Facility, killing all in their path. Eventually, this only left the building with 4 survivors left: Decker, Lilith, Khan, and Oz. Needing to find an escape from the overwhelming hordes of the souped-up dead, the 4 of them upgrade their ID badges so they can call for backup and an exfil. The AI of the base, Angie, assists them lightly in this endeavor. To obtain one of these badges meant they had to shoot the 3D printer with an EM1, for some reason. Shooting the ground in the furnace room, for some reason. Pressing 4 buttons whilst infected, for some reason. And using their exoslam on one of their holding cells, for some reason. Once they gained access to their own ID badges, all that was left was to upgrade them, which meant killing as many exo-zombies as they could. Once all was said and done, the 4 of them called in for their rescue. And rescue arrived, but an orbital care package strikes the carrier as it arrives, sending them earthbound, leaving the 4 protagonists stranded. With help nowhere on the horizon, the 4 of them try to fight their way out, and though they held their own, once they ran out of ammo, it was only a matter of time before they succumbed to the masses. In their final moments, toppled by the dead, Aetherz arrived, saving their lives and escorting them to a place of safety, located near an old burger town. Awakening to see hordes around them once more, the only rational thing to do is... cook a burger? Throughout their burger cooking quest, the four of them rescue over 24 survivors stationed within the quarantine zone, picked up by Sentinel choppers. Once the burger was cooked and ready to go, the four gave it to Burger Town's very own mascot, Bubby. Oh, and for some reason, a rocket launches off into the sky for, well, unknown reasons. With Bubby well fed and the survivors rescued, Sentinel helicopters descend to the roof of Burger Town, where our four protagonists are stationed out, fending off against what's left. As the helicopters land, Sentinel soldiers rush out, aiming their guns at the four protagonists. Captain Lennox exits, drawing his handgun and aiming it to the kneeling cast, explaining that one of them needs to go. Lennox turns to face his target, pulling the trigger without hesitation or mercy, and the bullet strikes through their head. Oz's head. Say goodbye to Big Bad Oz. The remaining members freak out at Oz's death, with Lennox explaining cryptically to their true natures and importance. The four of them are all immune to the zombification. Or, well, sort of? This isn't really well explained, actually. Anyway, boarding the three on his helicopter, with Oz's corpse being held in another, they rush out to an Aetherz carrier which is containing more biological weaponry, including that of GS7, the hallucinogen that was used in Oz's brainwashing. Prior to our crew's arrival on the carrier, there was a mutiny unfolding. The captain locked up the engine room as to prevent his unhappy crew from gaining access. Several attempts were made on the captain's life, but the one who would succeed was Chief Officer Darla, who used some intimate means to get what she wanted. The captain of the ship was killed after their night together, and the ship was officially in control by its crew and not its captain. Unfortunately for them, a zombie outbreak transpired just as our main crew arrived. Hot on their tail was Aetherz, trying to recapture their test subjects. The three surviving members, alongside Lennox, had the current goal of sinking the vessel before it could complete its voyage, as well as protecting themselves from Aetherz soldiers who were also on board. In order to gain access to the engine room and sink the vessel, they needed 4 tablets, each acquired in their own quirky way. Perhaps the most quirky of all was teleporting to a beach that makes you old, where they'd try to dig up one of these tablets. Once all 4 tablets were acquired, they'd plant C4s in the engine room and detonate them as they make their exit. Revealed to them in this moment was a zombified Oz. With all of his memories returning to him, he sought to make Aetherz pay, as well as anyone unfortunate enough to be in his way, including his former friends. As the C4s exploded and caused the ship to shake and sink, the 4 rushed into the escape boat, heading to an Aetherz black site disguised as a resort. Somehow, the zombified Oz beat them to it, killing all Aetherz soldiers within the black site and gaining complete control over the facility. Becoming DJ Oz? Their final goal now is to eliminate Oz and bring Aetherz's injustices to light. Lilith, Decker, Khan, and Lennox arrive at Trident's retreat and take their descent to the black site beneath the ocean's waves, completing tasks by Oz until they can finally meet face to face with him once more, now as a heavily mutated zombie. For everyone but Lennox, this is an emotionally difficult battle, but they conquer their friend, finally bringing him mercy from his undead nightmare. Lilith lights the corpse of Oz, promising to him that they'll make Aetherz pay for this. The rest stay, enacting a moment of silence for their fallen friend. Staying true to her promise, Khan sues the Aetherz Corporation for all their crimes against humanity, with Lilith using her skills with hacking to obtain any vital evidence they'll need to use against them, as well as emptying their bank accounts. Lennox was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel, allowing Decker to fulfill his dream, although not for Aetherz. Decker now fights on the front lines against his former employer. It all seemed guaranteed that the zombie threat was over with and that Aetherz would have no hopes of recovering from this event. But something lurks beneath the surface. Hundreds upon hundreds of Oz clones in stasis. and one just awakened. And to my knowledge, that is the entirety of the EXO zombie storyline. It's rather short and mostly undetailed, but for what it is, it does its job. But what do I think about the rest of the mode? Well, before I get into that, I'd like to give a big shout out to my friend, Stanley 557, for helping a brother out on these. Though we may not have accomplished everything we set out to do, I still had a good time playing EXO Zombies all these years later. So, thanks again, my guy, for suffering along with me. I look forward to doing the same with World War II. Anyway, my thoughts on EXO Zombies. I think it's pretty okay. For a first attempt at making their own Zombies mode, it does exactly what it needs to. Obviously, there's complaints like the EMZs, which everyone talks about, so I'm not breaking any new grounds here. I really do like the way, though, that the eyes on the zombies trail off. I think that's a really cool effect that would be fun to even include in the current Treyarch titles. But also, this is the first zombies to have kill streaks, if you don't include Extinction's abilities. Unfortunately, though, the mode lacks a lot of personality. Sure, you have a cast played by celebrity actors, but the game itself lacks any sauce. Wonder weapons like the Cell 3 and the Magnetron look and feel like ordinary weapons, even if I think the Cell 3 is the coolest thing ever. The perks all sharing the EXO in their name as well as the color scheme makes them all blend in my mind, and the power-up names are really nothing special. Well, aside from Stanley's favorite, Security, which I think they should bring back in Black Ops 7. Overall, I'm mixed on EXO Zombies. It's good fun, but can become annoying to play due to factors like the MZs, and most weapons feeling like dog water. But, just like with Extinction, it was fun to go back and give it a proper look back all these years later. With EXO Zombies and Extinction complete, what's next? Oh no. No!
I wish you didn't grab that. You just really ruined the run, dude. We gotta reset now.
I grab it because I know you like it.
EXO is down.